Hello learners, good to see you in this video on the topic Theory of Empiricism, which comes under the course Fundamentals of Philosophy, Unit 3, titled Theories of Knowledge, Rationalism and Empiricism. This unit will be covered in one video. Today we will discuss on empiricism. The objectives of this video is to understand the basis of empiricism, analyze Locke's critique of innate ideas, examine Locke's theory of knowledge to understand primary and secondary qualities, and critically evaluate Locke's empiricism. The branch of philosophy that studies the nature, source, and limits of knowledge is known as epistemology. The basic questions of epistemology can be put down in the following manner, that is, first, what is the nature of knowledge? This question asks what does it mean to say that someone knows? What is the scope of knowledge, or what can we know? This query tries to answer whether there are limits to what we can know. For example, whether there are things which are unknowable for us. Is it possible that we do not know as much as we think we do? This unit will introduce you to the second question of epistemology, that is, how we acquire knowledge. How do we distinguish between cases in which someone knows something and cases in which someone does not know something? How do we acquire knowledge? Here, we try to find the sources and origin of our knowledge. How can we use our various faculties like reason, senses, or other resources to acquire knowledge? We try to find out how we gain the concepts we use in our thought. Origin and sources of knowledge. There are many ways that one might come to know something or acquire knowledge. We acquire our knowledge of empirical facts about physical world through perception, that is, by using our senses. Science is the best example of empirical knowledge with its collection of data. Our everyday knowledge also mostly comes from the senses as we look, listen, smell, touch, and taste the various objects in our environments. But knowledge is not simply made up of sensations. All knowledge requires some amount of reasoning. Data collected by scientists must be analyzed before knowledge is yielded, and we draw inferences based on what is given to us by our senses. In case of knowledge of abstract or non-empirical facts, one has to rely exclusively upon reasoning. Some philosophers regard memory also as a source of knowledge. In memory, we come to know something which we knew in the past but which is no longer present to our senses now. Knowledge can also be acquired through testimony, that is, from the words of some trusted person or books, or that can be believed to be true. Theories of knowledge. There are two main theories of origin of knowledge, that is rationalism and empiricism. Rationalism is a theory that regards reason as the chief source of knowledge. According to this theory, knowledge cannot derive from experience. It can be derived from reason only. According to this theory, experience is not the source of knowledge. On the other hand, empiricism is a theory that regards experience as the source of knowledge. Only experience can give us knowledge. Reason is not the source of knowledge for empiricism. Locke and Hume are the chief exponents of this theory. Later, Kant criticized both the theory of knowledge, rationalism, and empiricism by advocating his theory of criticism. Criticism, also called the critical theory of knowledge, he advocated the view that both experience and reason together yield knowledge. Neither rationalism nor empiricism is the only source of knowledge. Knowledge requires both reason and experience. Rationalism. Before going to understand empiricism, we must know the theory of rationalism. Rationalism is the theory of knowledge according to which reason or intellect is the main source of knowledge. Rationalism rejects all knowledge derived from sense experience. Socrates and Plato are the earliest rationalist philosophers. According to them, true knowledge originates from reason. However, the rationalist philosophers differ among themselves regarding how much importance should be given to experience in yielding knowledge. Some rationalists regard experience as wholly misleading, while others attach some values to it. They assert that the knowledge of given by experience is confused knowledge. But in spite of their differences, they all agree that reason alone can give us certain and perfect knowledge. Rationalism is also called a priori knowledge of a priori theory of knowledge, as according to this theory, knowledge is prior or independent of experience. The rationalism that was advocated by these two philosophers became articulate in the philosophy of Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz. René Descartes is often regarded as the father of modern philosophy, and his approach to epistemology and metaphysics is grounded in rationalism. Rationalism is the belief that knowledge comes primarily from reason rather than sensory experience. Descartes' rationalist philosophy is based encapsulated in his famous dictum cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, which represents the starting point of his philosophical system. The key aspects of Descartes' rationalism are method of doubt. Descartes sought to establish certain knowledge by doubting everything that could possibly be doubted. This included doubting the existence of the physical world, the reliability of the senses, and even the existence of a benevolent God. The only thing he could not doubt was his own existence as a thinking being, hence the cogito. The mind body dualism, Descartes famously distinguished between two kinds of substances, the mind or soul, which is thinking, non material and indivisible, and the body, which is composed of material substances. This distinction is known as dualism. According to him, the mind is the source of all certain knowledge, and the body is subject to the laws of physics and can be studied through empirical observation. Innate ideas that Descartes argued some ideas are innate, in ideas that are not derived from experience but are inherent in the human mind. These include concepts such as mathematics, the idea of God, and certain fundamental truths. This contrasts with empiricists like John Locke, who argued that all knowledge comes from sensory experience. Clear and distinct ideas, Descartes believed that knowledge could be attained by following the method of clear and distinct ideas. These ideas are so self-evident that they cannot be doubted. For example, mathematical truths like 2 plus 2 equal 4 are considered clear and distinct. Descartes argued that the certainty of these ideas is guaranteed by God, who would not deceive humans. God's role in rationalism. Descartes placed significant emphasis on the role of God in his rationalist system. He believed that God, being all good and all powerful, would not deceive us. This assurance allowed Descartes to trust in the reliability of clear and distinct perceptions as a foundation for knowledge. Hence, Descartes' rationalism asserts that reason rather than sensory experience is the primary source of knowledge, and that through careful and methodical reasoning we can arrive at truths that are certain and indubitable. His work laid the groundwork for subsequent developments in philosophy, particularly in the fields of epistemology and metaphysics. So here, empiricism is, on the other hand, a theory according to which experience is the primary source of knowledge. It is a reaction against rationalism. In direct opposition to rationalism, empiricism holds that knowledge is derived from sense experience. The empiricists hold that The so-called a priori rational principles are actually derived from experience. As contrasted with rationalism, empiricism is called a posteriori theory of knowledge because, according to this theory, knowledge is posterior or dependent on experience. The overview of empiricism asserts that experience is the source of true knowledge. Opposing rationalism, it is a philosophical theory that asserts all knowledge originates from sensory experience. The key points of empiricism are a posteriori knowledge. As a posteriori knowledge, empiricism relies on knowledge gained after or through experience. Rejection of innate ideas, it denies the existence of inherent knowledge or concepts at birth as opposed to rationalism. It emphasizes the role of observation, experimentation, and evidence gathered through the senses, rejecting the notion that knowledge can be obtained purely through reasoning or innate ideas. In simpler terms, empiricism holds that what we know about the world comes from what we see, what we hear, touch, taste, or smell, and not from abstract reasoning alone. uh, John Locke, who has asserts the theory of empiricism mainly. He was a British philosopher, Oxford academic, and medical researcher. He is one of the most influential philosophers of the Enlightenment, is considered a central figure in the development of empiricism. Empiricism is the philosophical view that knowledge comes purely from sensory experience. Locke's key contributions to empiricism are found in his seminal work, An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, 1690, where he systematically critiques innate ideas and lays out his theory of knowledge acquisition. The key aspects of Locke's empiricism: rejection of innate ideas. Locke argued against the rationalist notion exposed by Descartes and others that humans possess innate ideas, truths that are present in the mind from birth. Instead, Locke proposed that the mind is a tabula rasa, a blank slate at birth. All knowledge and ideas come from experience, which he divided into two main types, that is, sensation and reflection. Sensation, ideas derived from external sensory experience, such as color, sound, taste, and texture. And reflection, ideas derived from internal processes, such as thinking, reasoning, believing, and doubting. Empiricism Empiricism emphasizes knowledge derived from sensory experience. For example, child development. A child learns that fire is hot by touching it and experiencing the sensation of heat or pain. This knowledge is gained through sensory experience rather than innate understanding. Secondly, tasting food is also a kind of experience, empiricism knowledge. That is, people decide if a dish needs more salt by tasting it, not by theorizing about its chemical composition. Another one example, listening to music. In case of listening to music, judging whether a song is pleasant depends on how it sounds when heard, not on an abstract analysis of its notes. And the last example is experimental science. That is, Newton formulated the laws of motion and gravity based on observations of physical objects and their behavior. The origin of ideas that Locke had asserted. Locke maintained that all ideas are formed through experience. For example, the concept of red, the color red, comes from seeing red objects, and the concept of sweet comes from tasting sweet substances. Simple ideas, that is, the sensation of warmth or cold, from the building blocks of more complex ideas, which are created by combining, comparing, and abstracting these simple ideas. Locke also talks about the concepts of primary and secondary qualities. That is, Locke introduced a distinction between primary qualities and secondary qualities. According to Locke, primary qualities inherent in an object, that is solidity, extension, motion, number, that exist independently of perception and are measurable. And secondary qualities are that exist only in the perception of the observer, that is color, taste, smell, sound. These depend on the interaction between the object and the senses. The limits of human knowledge, Locke emphasized that human knowledge is not infinite and is confined to the realm of experience. He was particularly skeptical of metaphysical speculation that extends beyond what can be empirically observed. He acknowledged that there are limits to what we can know, especially about the ultimate nature of reality. Empirical basis for understanding, Locke believed that knowledge is justified by empirical evidence rather than abstract reasoning. For example, the scientific method grounded in observation and experimentation reflects his empiricist philosophy. Locke's empiricism versus rationalism. Locke's empiricism contrasts sharply with Descartes' rationalism. While Descartes emphasized innate ideas and the power of reason, Locke rooted all knowledge in sensory experience and observation. This empiricist framework profoundly influenced later thinkers such as George Berkeley and David Hume and laid the foundation for modern scientific inquiry. As empiricism opposed Descartes' rationalism and theory of innate ideas, empiricism criticized that there is no universal presence of Descartes' innate ideas, no innate ideas equally present in all minds, that is, savages, children. There is no uniformity in moral and divine ideas, so it differs across societies and ages. Origin in experience, ideas like fire are learned through experience, not innate. Locke's theory of knowledge, tabula rasa, the mind is a blank slate at birth. It posits that the human mind starts as a blank slate without any pre-existing ideas, so-called innate, and that all knowledge is acquired through experience and sensory input. Locke argued against the notion that humans are born with certain inherent knowledge or ideas as proposed by rationalists like Descartes. Mind is a blank slate for Locke. At birth, the human mind is like a blank sheet of paper, void of any content or ideas. All knowledge and concepts are written on to this blank slate through two types of experiences, that is sensation and reflection. Formation of knowledge arises as the mind combines simple ideas derived from sensation and reflection into complex ideas through processes like comparison, recognizing similarities or differences between ideas, abstraction, forming general concepts from specific instances, and combination, joining multiple simple ideas into a single complex ideas, that is combining the idea of red, round, and sweet to form the idea of an apple. Education and environment. When we talk about the education and environment in Locke's empiricism, Locke's tabula rasa emphasizes the importance of education and environment in shaping an individual's knowledge, character, and personality. Since the mind begins as a blank slate, external influences play a critical role in determining what is written onto it. This idea had profound implications for pedagogy, promoting the idea that proper education can shape individuals and society. The implications of tabula rasa, equality of human potential. Locke's theory suggests that all humans are born equal in terms of intellectual potential, as no one starts with innate knowledge. Differences in knowledge, behavior, and skills arise from environmental factors and experiences, not from inherent superiority. Empirical approach to knowledge, the idea supports empiricism, emphasizing observation and experience as the primary source of knowledge. Locke's tabula rasa influenced the development of modern science and the scientific method. Influence on education, Locke believed that children's mind could be Locke believed that children's minds could be shaped by proper guidance and exposure to positive experiences, making education a cornerstone of personal and societal development. The criticism of tabula rasa, modern psychology and neuroscience have shown that certain cognitive structures and predispositions, that is, language acquisition, basic moral intuition may be innate, challenging the tabula rasa concept. However, Locke's emphasis on the formative role of experience remains influential and compatible with contemporary theories of learning and development. He claimed that if innate ideas existed, that is, concepts of God, morality, or logic, they would be universally recognized by all people. However, observation shows that such ideas are not present in infants or universally agreed upon across cultures. So, Locke's tabula rasa is a revolutionary idea that shifted philosophical focus toward experience and environment as the primary shapers of human knowledge and character, profoundly influencing education and science. John Locke introduces the concepts of simple and complex ideas too. To argue against innate ideas, Locke needs to show how all ideas are formed from sensory experience. By breaking down knowledge into simple and complex ideas, Locke provides a systematic account of how the mind constructs the vast array of concepts we use. He aims to clarify how the mind processes, organizes, and synthesizes information from the world. Locke's simple ideas are the most basic units of thought. They are atomic and cannot be broken down further, passively received through one sense, that is color, sound, and multiple senses, that is motion, space, reflection only, that is perception, naming, both sensation and reflection, that is pleasure, pain. Complex ideas are combinations of simple ideas that the mind actively creates through cognitive processes, actively combined from simple ideas by the mind. Moreover, he introduces the idea of primary and secondary qualities to explain how humans perceive the external world and distinguish between the objective reality and objects and the subjective nature of our sensory experiences. To explain the nature of perception, Locke wanted to clarify how we perceive the physical world and the relationship between objects and our sensory experiences. He argued that what we perceive is not the object itself, but ideas caused by the object in our mind. To distinguish objective reality from subjective experience by categorizing qualities into primary objective and secondary subjective, Locke demonstrates that some aspects of the world exist independently of perception, while others depend on how we sense the world. To address the limits of human knowledge, Locke's distinction highlights the limits of human perception, emphasizing that we cannot fully know the intrinsic nature of objects, but only how they appear to us through their effects on our senses. To refute naive realism, Locke challenges the idea that all perceived qualities exist exactly as they appear in the object. Instead, he argues that secondary qualities, that is color, taste, are not properties of the object itself, but are the result of sensory interaction. To ground empiricism, Locke's philosophy is built on the idea that knowledge comes from sensory experience. By differentiating primary and secondary qualities, he underscores She underscores how sensory input provides the raw material for knowledge uh, while also questioning about its subjective aspects. In conclusion, empiricism, as exemplified by John Locke, underscores the fundamental role of sense experience in the acquisition of knowledge, challenging the rationalist notion of innate ideas. Locke's rejection of innate ideas and his portrayal of the mind as a tabula rasa highlight his commitment to the empirical foundation of knowledge derived through sensation and reflection. By distinguishing between primary and secondary qualities, Locke provides a nuanced understanding of the interplay between objective properties of objects and subjective perceptions in the mind. While firmly rooted in empiricism, Locke extends its boundaries by inferring the existence of matter, mind, and God as necessary substrata, illustrating a blend of empirical rigor with philosophical reasoning. This approach bridges the empirical focus on experience with the metaphysical necessity of entities beyond direct sensory evidence. Further reading references you may look out. From this video, we have learned that knowledge is not predetermined or speculative but arises from observable reality and indivisible experience. This perspective fosters scientific inquiry, critical thinking, and a deeper appreciation for how humans understand and engage with the world. It encourages humility in knowledge with, while emphasizing the transformative power of education and empirical